All right, Shalom Akim. This is your brother Zakaria Allah Burns down here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, coming with another lesson through the Spirit. All right, Lord willing, this be edifying to the Lord's elect. Before I get started with this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, from I've grown in this truth under. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. All right. And I want to give another update, all right, on the situation with Iran, where uh, it is being reported on Iranian state TV, all right, that the Ayatollah is just that the Ayatollah has died, right, and that the strike on his compound was actually successful and all that, yada yada yada. Um, Now, I'm going to hit on a couple points with this, okay? One of which people are showing surprise that that the Americans will strike, okay? They're showing their surprise as, oh, they didn't they didn't expect that that these guys would strike Iran, you know what I'm saying? When everybody on the news was telling you that they was close to striking a deal. You know what I'm saying? And we already knew from jump, all right, as I said in previous lessons, all right, we knew from jump that this was not meant to garnish a deal. You know what I'm saying? This was never meant to forge a deal, man. Okay, that was not the intention. You see what I'm saying? You have to remember, America is not the one that's in charge here. You see what I'm saying? The small hats are the ones that's in charge. This is written in Jeremiah. Selected. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 49. All right, real quick. It's Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 20. And it reads, Selected. It reads, therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord Yahweh that he had taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. Okay. So just to let you know, it's not the Americans that's in control here. All right, they're being pulled on the leash. You see what I'm saying? This is literally a whore that's being dragged around, you know what I'm saying, on all fours with her pimp walking with the handle of the leash in his hands, guiding this horde to World War III. You see what I'm saying? To give you that, that blunt analogy, okay, but that's essentially what's going on here. You see? So America is not in control of anything. So when we looked at the demands, okay, on the quote unquote negotiation table, what were the demands? The demands was zero enrichment. Okay? Zero enrichment. Lower their ballistic missiles to just a few kilometers, to where it can nowhere come near, all right, Israel. And then number 3, end all support of, proxy forces within the region. You see? 2 of those options, all right, 2 of the latter would end up with Iran being essentially no force to be reckoned with at all. Okay? But the main course issue was what? It was the nuclear deal, or the nuclear issue, where the demand was zero enrichment, but no country would agree to zero enrichment, because that, that is an international right, that you can have enriched uranium at a civilian level. When you turn on your lights, that's due to nuclear energy. You see what I'm saying? When you're able to go and have chemotherapy, that's nuclear energy. You see? So when you as and when you look at like whole metropolises like New York or San Francisco or what have you, you know what I'm saying? All that is powered by enriched uranium. You see? So it can be used at a civilian level. Every country has that right to do so. You know what I'm saying? That's under the IAEA. All right? Countries that are monitored by the IAEA, excuse me, IAEA, excuse me. That's International Atomic Energy Agency. All right? So countries that are monitored under them, they're allowed to have enriched uranium. All right? But the negotiations, which weren't negotiations at all, okay, they were saying that you have to have zero enrichment. Okay? So you wouldn't even be classified as a developing country anymore. You know what I'm saying? In any case, all right, in any case, we knew that going into these talks, it was a waste of time, you know what I'm saying, altogether, because it was never meant to create a pact or to create a deal or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Because Iran was already under a deal. It was known as the JCPOA, which was JCPOA, this joint coalition of of Slocky. Let me get this right. Let me do this here. What is the acronym? What is the acronym for JCPOA? Okay, so the JCPOA stands for the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. All right, so the Comprehensive Plan of Action, that was the deal that Iran had struck with America, okay, years ago. All right, under the Obama administration. When Trump first came into office, he got rid of that deal. He shredded it and he threw it away. You know what I'm saying? He said it was a bad deal. Now, according to that deal, which multiple countries also signed on to enforce Iran to stay within those parameters. All right, that that deal was already set in place. It was already working. He said it was a bad deal. Okay, so he got rid of it. All right, and then last year, when they were in talks, all right, when they were in talks on reducing enriched uranium and all that stuff, right? That's when Israel attacked. Okay, we saw what was known as the 12-day war, right? And so after that, when United States had to jump in and pretty much stop the whole situation, okay, that was when you had it's like you're trying to keep my thoughts together. Um, pretty much that's when you had, all right, Iran basically cut their losses or what have you, and America claimed that they no longer had the possibility of creating a nuclear weapon. You know what I'm saying? So here we are again today. Okay, and we had the same type of talks. Okay, And just as before, well, almost just as before, they were struck during negotiations. Okay? In this case, they were struck directly after the negotiations. So clearly the West and Israel does not want peace. You know what I'm saying? And that leads me to this precept here in Psalms chapter 55 and verse 20. It reads, "He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords." You see what I'm saying? And people are taken by surprise with this because they thought that, that war was being averted. You know what I'm saying? And so I wanted to go here to the book of Second Maccabees because, with Esau's behavior, this is nothing new. All right, we're not looking at anything that's new here. They've done this before. Right? So 2nd Esdras chapter 4. I want to read this in the GNT, all right? And let's start at verse 30. 2nd Maccabees chapter 4, verse 30. It says, "Meanwhile, there was a revolt in the Cilician cities and of Tarsus, of Tarsus and Malice, because the king, which was King Antiochus Epiphanes, right? Because the king had given those cities to Antiochus, his mistress. All right, he gave those 2 cities to her as a gift." And it says, so the king had left Andronicus. The king had left Andronicus, one of his higher officials, in command, while he hurried off to Cilicia to restore order. Okay. Now this dude Andronicus was a straight up demon. You know what I'm saying? This Edomite right here. Okay, and it says, verse 32, Menelaus took advantage of this opportunity and presented Andronicus with some of the gold objects that he had removed from the temple in Jerusalem. All right, so this is one of Andronicus's homeboys. You know what I'm saying? Menelaus, okay, who since the king was gone, he decided to take certain trinkets and gold ornaments and objects from the temple in Jerusalem. You see? So it says he had already sold some of them to the city of Tyre and to other nearby cities. Now when Onias, okay, which was one of the priests, okay, he was one of the Hebrew priests, right? Or what's the word? Salakia. Let me straighten that up. He was one of the Levite priests, okay? Onias. Just to clarify that. So when Onias, verse 33, when Onias heard about this, he fled for safety to a temple at Daphne near the city of Antioch, all right, and openly accused Menelaus. All right, why? Because Menelaus had taken the gold out of the temple, and he went and he sold that gold, and he was giving some of it to Andronicus. All right. So he went out to report this. Verse 34. Then Menelaus secretly persuaded Andronicus to kill Onias. All right, so Andronicus went to Onias and deceived him with a friendly greeting and with promises of safety. This is the point. Although Onias was suspicious, Andronicus finally lured him away from the safety of the temple and immediately murdered him in cold blood. Okay? So what this, what I meant in grabbing this and bringing this up is to point to the fact that these Edomites are always cutthroat. All right, they are always cutthroat, man. They will never deal fairly. All right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 12, and verse 10. It reads, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away." All right. So these Edomites, Salakia, these Edomites have a long history of betrayal. You know what I'm saying? You can look all throughout the history of the Diadochi. You know what I'm saying? Those particular families and the generals, all right, they were really very cutthroat, man. Very cutthroat. You know what I'm saying? They would do whatever is necessary to get to the top or to have rulership. You see? So what we're looking at right here is no different. Okay? These Edomites will take you to the negotiating table. You know what I'm saying? They'll pretend as if they're coming in good faith, as if they're coming to really actually strike a deal or strike some sort of agreement. And as we've seen him do time and time and time again, all right, beginning first and foremost with the Israelites, you see what I'm saying? Over 400 treaties that he made with the Gadites, all right, he broke those. So this is a long-standing history, time and time again. Okay, and while he's doing these whole nuclear talks and whatnot, here comes Israel once again to strike first. You see? And it's no different. Same playbook. All right, Trump is he's even talking about weapons of mass destruction. He's literally saying weapons of mass destruction again. You see what I'm saying? Just like Bush did. So, these jokers is about to go and lose their lives over this country. Okay, this foreign country, I should say. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Now, here's another part of the whole situation that I've been thinking about. All right, because since my last video, all right, what I did was I had touched on the subject earlier, and I pointed out the fact that it was reported, all right, that the Ayatollah had escaped, that the Ayatollah was never in Tehran. You know what I'm saying? And so those strikes on his compound was not successful. You know what I'm saying? That's what it said. Now that was earlier this morning. You see what I'm saying? Now we're getting reports. We're getting reports here. Okay. At the time it's 11 o'clock, so about maybe an hour or so, 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? That the Iranian state TV had announced the death of Ayatollah Khamenei. Okay? So, here's the thing. At some point, because somebody's telling the truth, right? And here it is, the conflicting statement is coming from Iran itself. You see what I'm saying? on the one hand, America straight up said, all right, Ayatollah is dead. He's dead. You know what I'm saying? And hours earlier, they were saying, you know what I'm saying, that he's safe and sound along with the president. And here it is. Now they're saying that he's dead. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, between that time and now, this is how I perceive this. You know what I'm saying? I speak as a man. But at some point between this time, where it says just in, Iranian foreign minister says both the president and the supreme leader are still alive. Okay? At some point between that time, which was earlier today, and now, where they're saying that he's dead, I believe that there were discussions that was made, all right, where they said the best thing for us to do is to say that he passed. You know what I'm saying? So that way we can keep him alive, because if the Americans believe that he's gone, well, then they will think that it's a success. You know? Again, I only speak as a man, but I remember looking at the movie with Steven Seagal called the movie was called Hard to Kill. Okay? It was called Hard to Kill. And when the main character, Mason Storm, was attacked in his home, all right, they wrote him off as dead. And when his partner O'Malley was about to begin mourning him, one of the doctors pulled him in and said, "Hey, the man's alive. The man's alive." And O'Malley, what did he do? He said, "We're gonna have to tell the press that he's dead. We will tell the press that he passed away in the line of duty and whatnot, right?" And so, in so doing that, he preserved the life of Mason Storm. So I believe that the same scenario is happening right now, where they're saying on the news that he passed. Okay, but conflicting story from earlier said that he was just fine. You know what I'm saying? He and the president were just fine and taken to a secure were taken to a secure location. Okay, because I also remember another report stating that even the Ayatollah's most closest allies, even if you're in the highest branch of government or the highest branch of the military, you could not be taken to his location unless you were blindfolded. Okay, blindfolded, and I think also deafened. So you probably had to have, you know what I'm saying, ear tubes as they were transporting you to go and see the Ayatollah. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what I was thinking about, you know what I'm saying? Because this can also go that way, where it could be a surprise to Babylon. Because what does the scripture say after all else is said? Okay, what do? We go to the scriptures, okay, and we see what the scriptures tell us. All right, so 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 28. Behold, an horrible vision and an appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians, being the Persians, the Iranians, also the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars in the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Okay, so I said all that to say this: don't be surprised if the Ayatollah just pops up. You know what I'm saying? Don't be surprised if he pops up and gives a specialized speech or whatever, and galvanizes the whole Muslim Brotherhood, if you will. Okay? Because we know that this prophecy right here has to come to pass. Okay? And they see the Ayatollah, the supreme leader of Iran, as a great symbol of leadership, and one that can strengthen the morale of the people. You know what I'm saying? Instantly. So if it turns out that he was still alive, okay, and all they did was stage his death in order to throw off the West, well, then that will give an extreme boost of military morale all around the region. You know what I'm saying? Just pointing that out. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's the Lord that's doing all this, man. It's the Lord that's setting this up. This is Isaiah chapter 13. And let's go to verse 4. All right. Salaki. All right, Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 4 says, "The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations, gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustered the host of the battle." So the Lord is doing all this because he is a man of war. That's the book of Exodus chapter 15 and verse 3. You see? So, expect a lot of surprises going forward. You know what I'm saying? Real quick, let me end this off with this. Bear with me.
Ali Khamenei is alive, and separately that the Iranian president is alive right now following these American and Israeli strikes. As far as I know, yes, they are alive, and the head of judiciary as well, the head of the Speaker of Parliament as well, all high-ranking officials are alive, and the secretary of the National Security Council. So everybody is now in its position, and we are handling this situation, and everything is fine.